Thank you, Rel. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the May Release Highlights webinar. In this session today, we are going to see together the exciting features and enhancements that are going to be released as part of May Release. May Release is actually going to be released really soon. In the next Sunday, we are going to have the sandbox installation. In 2 weeks from that day, we are going to have production installations. Before going to delve into the details, Rel mentioned the Q&A section. Feel free to write down your questions during the session. Don't wait until the end. We'll make all efforts to address all the questions. So feel free to type your questions during the session. Over here on the screen, we can see the features and enhancements that we are going to discuss today. This is not everything. You can see the full list in the release notes that will be published in the next days, but those are the main highlights that we are going to discuss. In Primo VE, we will have two new great features. The first one is person entity as part of the link open data approach, and we will get to it soon. And the second great feature is the new interface for authority search inside Primo. The next ones under Primo VE are enhancements for existing features. And on the right side, you can see the things that are going to be released both in Primo and Primo VE. The first one is the gradual transition to quick links, which is a change that we are introducing in May release. We will get to it, of course, and an augmentation of the CDI subject headings. And now let's start with the person entity. We believe that all the data is linked to each other. And using this fact, we introduced a new entity, the person entity, inside Primo. This new entity is based on Library of Congress and is being enriched with Wikidata. The person entity is accompanying the user journey in two main scenarios. The first one is in the full record page, where info cards, suggestions of persons are being displayed. And the second scenario is the autocomplete, where also persons are being suggested according to the search that was inserted. This is not going to be enabled by default. There is a very basic configuration that you can see over here in the screen in order to opt into this great new functionality. I would like to emphasize that at this stage, the person entity is based on LC names authorities, meaning this is relevant only for local records that are linked to LC names authorities and for English authorities at this stage. We'll be looking into enhancing it in the future during this year and during the next year. I'm going to show you a demo of this great feature. 1 second. Here. We'll start with the first scenario of the autocomplete. I would like to search for Virginia Woolf. After the list of suggestions that we're getting until now, we added the suggestions of persons at the bottom. As you can see, I'm getting the thumbnail of the suggested persons, the name, the years when they lived or are living, and a short description. So following this string that I searched, I got two options, two suggestions of persons. The first one is for Virginia Woolf, and the second one, Leonard, Virginia's husband. I'm going to select Virginia, and I will get the relevant information about Virginia based on the Library of Congress authority that was enriched with Wikidata. Over here, I can see the relevant information about Virginia, a few more details about when she was born, died, field of work, occupation, source. And after that, there is an interesting thing that we added, free carousels. The first one is for titles in the library that were written by this person, that were written by Virginia Woolf. I can see over here popular novels that she wrote, Mrs. Dalloway, Orlando, a biography, and more. The next carousel is titles in the library written about Virginia. Over here, I can see many titles. When one of them is, we'll get, let's click on this one, Leonard and Virginia Woolf, a title that was written about both of them. But before that, I will go to the third carousel, which is the people associated with Virginia Woolf. And I can see over here, for example, Ocampo Victoria, who translated Virginia's work, and many other persons that are related to Virginia. I will get back to this record that was written about Leonard and Virginia. I'm going to select it. And I'm getting to the full record page of the record that I selected. And here we're getting to the second scenario. The first one was the autocomplete, where I started typing Wolf and got 2 suggestions. Clicking on one of the suggestions took me to the relevant person page. And the second one is the suggestions of persons inside full record page. So in this full record page, I'm getting 3 related persons. The first one is the author of this record. The second one is Leonard, and the last one is Virginia. Just to close the loop here, I'm going to select Leonard. I will get to Leonard's person page. And of course, I will be able to notice that the first person that is related to Leonard is Virginia Woolf. One second, let's get back to the slides over here. So we covered both scenarios, which can be easily enabled using the configuration. The first one is the autocomplete. The second one is the info card, the suggestions of persons inside full record view. Selecting one of the persons in these 2 scenarios took me to the person page. We believe that with this interesting new flow, the patrons will have more complete and more interesting search experience and discovery experience inside Primo. So as I mentioned, this is the first phase that we released for the person entity using Library of Congress authorities in those local records. The next new feature, is the authority search. The authority search can be useful for 2 important use cases. The first one is for the librarian looking for authorities of different institutions. It can be extremely relevant for state libraries, for regional libraries, national libraries that manage their own local authorities, and they would like to publish their authorities so others can view it and use it. They are, for example, responsible for a specific area and would like to share it. So this is one use case to use search authorities in Primo for the librarian. The second use case is for the patron, kind of a thesaurus, kind of educational flow where the patron will be able to enrich their knowledge based on authorities. If a patron is looking for a particular subject and see the authority, they can learn about this subject and to see the linked records. This functionality is not enabled by default. You will need to go to Alma and enable it with the basic toggle under the links menu that you can see at the bottom of the screen. There is the toggle, and inside the configuration, you will be able to select the search types that will be possible for the end user to search accordingly in the authority search. This is the whole configuration of this new feature. And now let's see it. On the left side, you can see the beginning of this flow. On the links menu, once I enable it, I will be able to see this new option added to the links section at the top. The relevant search types that were enabled in Alma are being displayed to the end user. The end user searches for the relevant authority and gets a list of authorities of many types. On the right side, you can see the authority record once I select one of the authorities. On the authority record, you will be able to notice the title, the option to search for records, for related records of this authority. You will be able to use actions. You can see the permalink, email, and print actions. And the most important thing is the details and the links where the librarian will be able to see the source record of the authority. Inside the details, the patron and the librarian will be able to learn more about this authority and to see more information. They will be able to see related terms, which is the related authorities. The related terms are being searched according to the same 500. A textual search of 500 will be invoked once this option is clicked. At the top, the marked in red part is the search for records. The search for records will be initiated based on an identifier on the originating system ID that we'll be searching. We believe that this new interface can be extremely beneficial both for the librarian and for the patron. It's important to note that it is relevant at this stage for local authorities. We believe that this is beneficial enough for libraries to use it for local authorities, meaning this is not meaning community zone records will not be included. The next few enhancements is in the area of Showcase. We introduced in February the Showcase carousel tool, which is a visual carousel that can help you to promote your resources, can help the library externalize any relevant resources. At the beginning, we designated it for embedding this showcase in any external website, for example, faculty or university site. Following your great feedback in the listserv and in iQuest tickets and correspondence with us and with support, we found out that, first of all, it's great to find out that a feature is interesting for customers and gains so much usage. Based on this feedback, we decided on those enhancements. When the first one is adding instructions to the developers network page for how to embed the showcase inside Primo, not only in external websites. We added the guidelines, what needs to be done on the customization package of Primo in order to embed this carousel. I will show you a quick demo. Over here, you can see the showcase that we embedded inside Primo. For example, a use case for that can be new books in the library. I will be able to see over here the relevant records that were retrieved. Clicking on the title, I define the title as linkable to the full query, to the query itself, where you can see that I search for the books from the last month. So this was the first enhancement of adding guidelines for you how to embed the Showcase carousel tool inside Primo. The second enhancement for the Showcase is enlarging the number of records per one showcase. Until now, there was a limitation. The number of records was fixed, always 10 records in a showcase. Following your great feedback, we enlarged it to be dynamic according to your requirements. There is a new parameter, the limit inside the query, where you can define any number between 1 and 20 for the number of records to be shown in a showcase. The third enhancement is supporting local thumbnails in showcase. Until now, out-of-the-box thumbnails were supported, Synthetics, Google, Alma-D. And from now on, also local thumbnails that you have configured in Alma are being supported. The last fine-tune of the showcase is the accessibility. We are spending a lot of efforts in the accessibility area, and following your feedback, we added a few items of in the area of the accessibility of the showcase. The first one is the title hierarchy. Before that, we had H1 defined as the title, and once the showcase is embedded in a page where there is another title above it, it was not accurate when the title was configured as defined as H1. Therefore, we changed it. The second accessibility item that we did was enlarging the space between the dots in order to make it more accessible. The dots in order to navigate the different records in a showcase. The last accessibility item is making the order of the arrows more accurate. Before that, in accessibility terms, you were able to hear and see next slide button before the previous slide button, and we changed the order to make it more accurate. The next two enhancements are actually regional. The first one is for German customers. German libraries are using 689 for subject fields. 689 was not treated until now as standard as a standard subject field, and from this point it will be, meaning the 689 will be treated for display and index as part of the subjects, meaning patrons will be able to view and to search on subjects cataloged in 689. An important note is if you are using the 689 field, you will need to ask us to re-index in order to we want to consider the 689 in terms of searching. The second regional enhancement is for Italian libraries using Unimark 400 for relations. Until now, there was a prerequisite. If we're talking in terms of child and parent, the child had to contain subfield A or subfield E in order to build to a relation to be built. From now on, this requirement was removed. It's not those fields are not obligated to contain the subfield A and subfield E. We changed it in a similar way in Mark, and now we aligned the Unimark to contain the same flow. The next enhancement is in the CDI scope. In order to provide broader search capabilities, the CDI scope include CDI resource type option. We got feedback from you that it will be easier for you to do the setup if exclude option will exist. That's why we added another option of exclude resource types. A use case for having two scopes, one with exclude and one with include, is, for example, one scope that includes dissertation and thesis, and another scope that excludes books or books chapters. A change that is going to take place in May, both for Primo and Primo VE, is the enablement of quick links. We released the quick links feature a while ago. A few words about quick links. This is a free cost, convenient feature for users to access full text documents using a single link. When libraries often have access to several platforms for the same item, and with quick links feature, we show only one link for each type, one for PDF and one for online. Patrons who are familiar with the different platforms and would like to select the link by themselves can see the full list of links inside the View It section in the full record page. In February, we introduced a new customer parameter, institution level parameter, which was informative only and was enabled by default, the auto switch quick links. The purpose of this parameter was for you to test the quick links functionality based on the previous parameter, the view level parameter. And in May, we plan to make the enablement of the quick links based on this new parameter. Until now, the enablement of quick links was based on the view level configuration, and starting from May, the enablement of quick links will be based on the auto switch quick links on this new institution level parameter. You can opt out and opt in at any stage. Don't be stressed out because May release is coming. You will be able to opt in after May. You will be able to opt out after May. Feel free to reach out to us with any concern or question that you might have. The motivation was to encourage our customers to use the quick links, as we have already over 700 satisfied customers utilizing quick links. There are already 40 content providers supplying direct links and over 1.5 billion articles supported by quick links. So you can try it and you can opt out and opt in at any stage. This is the gradual transition of quick links. The last item in May release that we are going to discuss is the augmentation of the CDI subject headings. In February, we had a big enhancement in the area of the CDI, of the subjects coming from CDI content providers. In the past, we heard a lot of feedback about the subjects coming from CDI content provider that are not normalized, meaning sometimes duplicative, irrelevant. That's why we created a control vocabulary based on subjects coming from LCSH and mesh. And in February, the change was that based on, of course, configuration to opt in to this feature, every subject that came from CDI content provider was checked against this control vocabulary of LCSH and mesh. Once a match was found, the subject was added as a standard subject. If a match was not found, this subject was added to the keywords section and was still searchable and was possible for display, etc. In February, the subjects were only topical subject headings. Following your feedback, we enhanced it, and in May, we are going to release also the personal name headings and geographic name headings, as you can see in the example over here in the screen. We covered the May release, and now we sneak peek into August release. In August, we are going to introduce a great feature that many customers are waiting for, the bulk export. Until now, the export of the bibliographic records was limited to 50 results at a time. We're working now on an export all option, where once the end user is clicking on the checkbox to select all, a new option of the export all results will be displayed. Selecting this result will allow the patron to export the bibliographic records either to RIS, either of the formats RIS, BibTeX, or CSV to their email. The job will be invoked in the background while the patron will keep working on Primo without interfering their work. This is also a nurse requirement, and the motivation here was allowing the users to integrate bibliographic information into their preferred tools and in massive amount of records, not only limited to 50. So this is coming in August release. Two exciting events that are going to take place in the next month. The first one is the lecture of Sophia Noble that will discuss the DEI and how it's presenting the challenges to libraries today, especially with the new evolving technology. And the next upcoming very exciting event is the Iluna annual meeting in Minneapolis. We hope that you are going to, we hope to see you there. I'm not going to be there. Israel is going to be there, and he will be more than happy to meet you there. The release notes are going to be available in the Knowledge Center soon. I will send the relevant link once it's published. Before we are moving on to the Q&A session, two things just to emphasize. The first one is again the change that we are introducing in the quick links enablement in May. Feel free to test it and to opt out and opt in according to your needs. You will be able to change your decision also after May. If you have any concern or question, feel free to reach out to support or to ask the product team. And another thing you saw during the slides, many of the enhancements and features came from you, from the community. Your words have a lot of impact. As you can see, your feedback is incredibly important to us. So thank you for that. Thank you for assisting us shaping the product and making it a better product. We hope to get more of your feedback in the near future. And now I'm going to start the Q&A.
All right, so thank you, Seema, very much. Why don't I read out the questions so that everyone can follow, and then you can respond. So our first question is, will the titles of the library written about, etc., include the network zone records or only records from the institution zone?
No, it's a great question. It is going to include only record in the institution zone.
Great. Well, the titles
in the stage, this is the first phase that we are releasing.
Great. Will the titles in the person page ever come from CDI, or will this always be just for Alma records?
Yeah, so at this stage, we are going to have it only for local records. Connecting the CDI to the LC authorities is quite challenging. So at this stage, this is relevant only for local authorities. We are going to look into enhancing it, maybe introducing different type of authorities, and then it might be easier to cover also CDI. We'll be definitely looking into this option in the future.
Great. And regarding authorities, I have a side question here. When you said that the authorities would be only in English, that's being used for the person cards, if you could elaborate on that, please.
Yes, of course. So at this stage, we are introducing it's quite challenging because of the enriching of Wikidata. At this stage, it's not going to be translatable to other languages. It's English. The suggestions will be in English, but we will be looking also in enhancing the language. We have plans. We have plans to consider also that.
Thank you. If we don't have Library of Congress authorities, can we not use the info cards?
Yes, at this stage, you would not be able to use the info cards. At this stage, the person entity is relevant for local authorities that are linked to a Library of Commons authorities. Yeah.
Okay, I think we're moving to a new topic about analytics. Are we able to see in Primo Analytics how many times users click on the autocomplete person entity?
That's a good question. We checked it. I think we have transactions for it, but I will make sure that it is available because it's definitely an interesting thing to consider.
And I see Seema's taking a note here, so definitely going to get back to you. Great. So for the showcase feature, we have a person asking whether it's supposed to support showing new ebooks or is it just physical? She could only get physical books to show.
Sorry, I was still in writing the note.
So for the showcase feature, they seem to have it only presenting physical books and not ebooks, and they're wondering if it includes ebooks.
The showcase. The showcase for ebooks. No, it shouldn't be. It's the showcase is basic query in Primo. Whatever this query retrieves in your Primo, it should show the same records inside the showcase.
So I think the answer then is you should probably submit a support case if you're not able to show ebooks in
definitely.
your
It's not. It shouldn't be limited.
Yeah.
Whatever you're retrieving with the query in Primo should be displayed. Should be reflected also in the showcase.
Great. So here's if you can share the link to the instructions for how to put the showcase into Primo. Yeah, we can drop that in.
Sure, we will share it. It will be available in the presentation once I send it. You will be able to find it also in the release notes, and you can easily find it. There is a website, we call it it's the Developers Network. You can search just in the internet, Developers Network Showcase, and you will be able to retrieve this page.
Great. Oh, lots of tips there. Also, how to find our web pages. Will it still be possible to disable the quick links on a specific view with its new the new parameter set?
Okay, at this stage, the quick links is going to be based on the institution level setup. We will be looking into maybe allowing view level configuration. It's interesting to understand what's the use case for that, because it might assist for testing in order to test it on a particular view. But once releasing, we believe that if a library decides to continue with quick links, we don't see a hybrid model when few views should be enabled and few not. We will be looking into allowing also the view level. If you can elaborate maybe the reason why it's important for you to maintain the view level configuration, it can be useful.
Great. Now we have a couple of questions about the bulk export. So the first one is, will the bulk export work in favorites as well?
Sorry, Aurel, can you repeat it again?
Sure. Will the bulk export work in favorites as well?
That's a good question. At this stage, we are not implementing it in favorites. In favorites, there is also a limitation, not the 50 records limitation that we have in a standard search. It's a little bit different flow, but we will be looking into enhancing it as well.
Okay. And this is a question.
Writing it down for us, favorites. Yeah. Okay.
I'm not sure I fully understand this question, so maybe Seema, we might need a little more elaboration, but what is the number that will be announced for the bulk exports?
The number meaning the number of records retrieved, maybe if there will be a limitation. The answer is there might be a limitation, but it will be a very high threshold. Meaning we are looking right now in our technical proof of concept on 10,000 records to be exported at a time, 5,000 of records for CDI and 5,000 for local record. So if you're talking about the limitation, maximum records to be exported in the bulk export, it will be probably 10,000.
Okay, so I'm glad you understood what they meant. If that's not what you meant, you can always submit another question. We're still here. All right, so another question about the bulk export is whether it can be customized, such as can the user choose to export a specific citation? Can we add the call number and location?
The fields to be exported, it will be, the patron will not be able to control the fields that are being exported. It will be the same, the fields will be the same as right now. The exported fields that you are getting right now with the export option will be exported also in the bulk export.
Okay. We're moving on to another topic. Does the authority search cover mesh and LCSH, or is this just for local authority records maintained by the institutions?
The authority search. Institution. For now, the authority search, yes, it's only for local authorities. At this stage, the authority search is relevant only for local authorities.
Okay, we have a long one here, so bear with me, and I hope everyone can follow as well. Is the CDI subject normalization going to be fixed in its treatment of subject strings with subdivisions? So that, for example, for the subject, Japanese Americans forced removal, and there's a full description here. It won't have the subsection of it. So they gave an example here with a subject and a subdivision. Will that be removed?
Okay, I wrote it down. I don't think that Amy is here with us, right? Amy, Amy is our product, CDI product manager, and she will know to answer that. We will get back to you.
Yeah, the good news is that we have all of these questions recorded, and we can get back to whoever. Also, if we don't get to your question in time, we will also get back to you.
Subject subdivisions. I wrote it down. Amy will get back to you.
All right. We're coming back to the showcase question. Our IT said that the images in the showcase don't have alt tags. Is there a way we can add alt tags? Like
that's a good question about the alt tags. I think we can enhance it if we don't have it right now, the alt tags. I'm going to check it. Showcase alt tags.
There's, you know, what's interesting, someone here is writing also about the quick links about a single view testing. So they were hoping to test the quick links in a one view for their current solution, so that they, I guess, sort of like A/B testing, right? So they can test the two options. So I guess it's a repeat of that question about whether it's possible to have it in a single view. So we can come back to that as well.
Yeah, so at this stage, we are releasing the enablement of the quick links will be based on the institution level parameter and not on the view level. We'll look into opening the view level parameter if you find it really useful. We might expose this option if I see it's the second question about it. So I assume you have your reasons to do it. For testing purposes, you have 2 weeks for production, at least 2.5 weeks for the production installation. If you can complete the testing until now, it will be great. You can still test it on sandbox environment, but I will check it. I will definitely check it.
Yeah, and there's also someone had sent an explanation that some of their ebooks are only accessible by certain subsets of their users. So quick links would not be the preferred situation for them. So I think it's very interesting to see that obviously there's some feedback here about enabling it on the view level as well. And we appreciate that you'll take that back and consider it. So let's move on to our next question. Is the brief person description that shows up in autocomplete the description field in English from Wikidata or from somewhere else?
Yeah, it is from Wikidata. It is being taken over from Wikidata. The matching is being based on Library of Congress, and the information is coming from Wikidata.
Great. Are persons under people associated with driven by data in bibliographic records, Wikidata, authority records, or some combination of these?
You're asking about the linkage of the persons. The linkage of persons, they are, I will need to check it, how exactly we are finding the match.
Okay.
I will check it and get back to you, people associated with, yeah.
Okay, will the info cards and autocomplete always depend on the presence of Library of Congress authorities, or will they be expanded to include linked in field 0, or is that O, 0, or in brief records such as URIs and persons from Wikidata, etc.?
At this stage, it is based on Library of Congress authorities. We are looking into enriching it with different authorities that can be beneficial for more customers and to get broader exposure for you, to make it more relevant for as much as record as possible. I will share that we are looking into VIAF authorities and also for other options. But at this stage, it's dependent on Library of Congress authorities linkage. Yeah.
We do have a couple more people chiming in here about the quick links on the view level. So I'm just going to skip those. I apologize if you have written in and I'm not reading out your comment, but thank you for sharing that. Our next question is, we have some ebooks that are, oh, sorry. Yeah, I guess these are all about, these are comments that we've read about the quick links on the view level. Yeah, so I think we may have covered all of our questions here, because we have very many people commenting, which is very helpful, about the quick links on the view level.
1 minute, well, I noticed another question about the limitation. It's capped at 50, so it will go from 50, to 10,000. The question here is about the bulk export, the limitation. It will be quite different approach. There will be the export of the 50 as the old option, and there will be a new option introduced of the export all, which will be 10,000. Those are two options that will live one in parallel to the other.
Okay. All right, we have one more question that came in for the autocomplete person entity. Must this be enabled, or with the May release, will it automatically be available in Primo VE when performing a search?
I will answer, but where do you see it? I don't see it in
it was popped into the chat, so
it's in the chat. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, the autocomplete is not opted in by default. You can opt in whenever you feel convenient to do that. It's basic configuration as I showed, and you will be able to see it also in the release notes. It's quite easy, just to enable one customer parameter, one for the autocomplete and one for the full record suggestions.
Okay, so I think we've reached all of our questions. This was a very lively discussion. Thank you, everybody, for submitting your questions. If you think of anything later, you know where to reach Seema directly or the Primo team. Thank you very much, Seema. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. The recording will be sent out to you in a couple of days. And join us next time. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.